Right, good morning everybody. Thank you. My name is Mike Sewart and I'm here today to give you a bit of perspective around embracing innovation in training for complex environments. Now, I feel slightly outnumbered here today, I'll be honest with you. Speaking from industry, I hope to be able to give you a bit of a perspective of what's been happening outside defence and national security, some of the technologies and approaches to innovation that can make a success of future projects. Every industry is different, and I would say that from my experience, the defence and national security sector is complex, there's no doubt about it, but then every industry sector has its complexities as well. So what I thought I'd do is just to start with is unpack the term embracing innovation. And I think from my experience over the last 20 years, I've been fortunate enough to work on a number of innovative projects. And there's some key images that I thought I'd present, which really represent, the successful elements of any innovative project. I just thought I'd take you through them. So, top left, diversity. I think often underrated and complex. Diversity, different ways of thinking, different approaches, different experiences, and especially now in today's modern world, different organizations collaborating together to deliver unique value. Number 2, on top right, teamwork. I think that the armed forces are excellent at teamwork, there's no doubt about it, but innovation isn't just about one person having an idea, it's about other people coming together to effectively execute. Number 3, technology itself. Often associated with the word innovation. People quite often think innovation is technology, but it's absolutely not. And what I'm trying to give you here is a view of the other elements. Technology has evolved massively over the last 20 years, there's no doubt about it. And it's allowing us to be much more creative with our solutions moving forward. And the final point here is then focus. So innovation, in my mind, is 1% ideas, 99% execution. It's quite easy, I should say, to come up with a plethora of ideas. Working at QinetiQ, I have many people within our organization who've got some really, really great ideas. But how do we execute? Not always that consistently. So execution is absolutely key. But the image that really strikes at home to me around when we're looking at how to execute well around innovation is this little fella here. And he represents, really, the freedom of thought. And I think children are one of the best examples of innovative thinkers out there. And what's ironic in society is that as we grow up, we beat innovation out of our system. And we go into the workforce and we create yet more structure, yet more process. And it's that structure and process that essentially creates complexity when we're thinking about how to think outside of the box. So I think there's a lot we can learn from when we were younger. So if I look at, therefore, the collective training transformation program within the Army, the point here is absolutely it's the right thing that should be done, but think creatively, think out the box about how it will be executed. So I thought I'd just give you a flavor of innovation in training as well. So over the last 20 years, things have changed significantly. Top left-hand side, we've got simulation in high-risk environments. It's been used for quite a long time, actually, relatively old technology now, but it's good because it gives you a physical representation of that particular environment, and it's then using computational simulation to be able to actually present different terrains, different images. Moving on to the top right, we've then got the approach around the inclusion of physiological stresses. I think this is particularly important in complex environments. Here you can see some of the three-dimensional domes. These are immersive environments where you can actually go in, you're actually presented with different environmental factors, and they could be light, they could be heat, they could be humidity. And that's really trying to create more of an emotional connection between the training environment and the real-world events. On the bottom left, we've got, and this is a new technology that's coming in now, I would say really maturing over the last 5 years, I would say, is the blending of live and virtual environments. So sometimes this is called mixed reality, and a form of that is augmented reality. And that's when we're really taking physical environments and using technology through like eyepieces to really start to give extra data overlay to people who are performing the training. And then finally, especially in complex environments, we're then looking to pull together a number of these threads to create three-dimensional worlds. This is usually formed through virtual reality. That could be either through physical headsets for individuals, or it could be virtual reality pods. And here what we can do is then start to introduce much more distributed training across different environments, different countries. Underpinning all of this, though, and quite underrated, is data. And I think really the point to land here is that there is no one right or wrong way in terms of technology to be employing in the training environment. It's about taking a balanced approach. It's about ensuring that the systems are interoperable, but it's about leveraging the data that comes from the training. There is a massive amount that we can gain from this, and it performs a very effective feedback loop back into the future evolution of training systems. But at the same time, don't forget that the more technology we apply to training, we're creating essentially another target. So we have to make sure that we're delivering an assured training environment. So let's bring that to life a little bit. I'm sure a lot of people in the room will be familiar with the DSALT facility. I think that's a good example of simulation training in action with distributed teams as well. So it's a really good way of taking simulation and distributed teams, combining them together to deliver quite a compelling training experience. In the middle there, we've got an example that we're looking at the moment with the Navy. And this is really about looking at augmented and virtual reality and introducing a concept of gamification. So here, the Navy have got some specific drills that they're wanting to look at, and we're actually allowed, using technology, able to put them into an immersive environment, and then actually start to introduce gamification, which gives a different engagement experience. So, as it was mentioned before around Fortnite, this is what kids of today are growing up on. So actually introducing these types of techniques becomes increasingly critical in delivering modern-day training. And then finally, on the right-hand side, this is an example of what we're doing in mining. Mining, I think, is quite adjacent to defense and national security because it is a very, very complicated environment. And here we're looking at using the physiological immersion, working in a three-dimensional virtual environment to try and represent deep well mining as best as possible with all of the environmental factors that come with that. So, to wrap up, what do we need to do about it, and what are the messages that I want to really land with the audience? Well, I think number one, embrace the multiple dimensions of innovation. Innovation is not just technology. It is the execution of a particular project, and it has to be done in a way which touches on diversity, teamwork, yes, technology, focus, and freedom of thought. Number two, realize the benefits. So there'll be skeptics in the audience who may say that technology shouldn't be suited for innovation, for training. What I'm saying is this is not a one-size-fits-all model. There will be benefits, including decreased cost, time. It's a safer environment as well. It provides adaptive training. But I think also, as I mentioned earlier, in terms of soldier retention and morale, soldiers of today, or certainly future soldiers coming into the army, are growing up with this level of technology. So it's really important that the army adapts to this level of technology so that it can train to become the best warfighters. And then also be open-minded, but be aware. So I've listened intently with some of the comments around experimentation. I'm a massive fan of experimentation to really tailor to an environment. You can't go to Amazon and buy training platform version 1 for the army. It's not simple, and it's not like that in any sector. So I think it's a case of actually using experimentation to get the right blended types of training for that particular environment. And then also partner smart. This isn't about the Army having all the answers. It's not about QinetiQ, my company, having all the answers. It's about using an ecosystem. And this is much more of a growing trend now within industry about industry coming together to deliver collective value. And I think a good example is the FD Nexus program that has now been introduced by the Army as a way of engaging with industry around innovation. And finally, when I come to be aware, this is about creating an integrated environment. So it's really important that the systems that are built are interoperable, they're connected together, but at the same time, through the use of more technology, we are creating a target which is going to potentially be attacked. So we need to recognize that technology comes at a cost, and therefore we need to be delivering it in an assured way. But this is now capability. This is not something that's coming in 2 years' time, 3 years' time. This is technology that's available right now. So we have no excuses as a collective team to get behind this and come up with some compelling ways of delivering much more innovative training going forward. But remember what I said at the start. Innovation is 1% ideas, 99% execution. So it's about us remaining focused on the job in hand to deliver operational value. Thank you very much.